I'm Dr. Fiona Lovely, and this is the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. I'm taking the taboos of menopause and perimenopause and bringing light to the dark. No bullshit, no shame. It's time for us to gain a new paradigm in female health, out with the old and in with the new, and I'm bringing fresh perspectives from someone in the arena. I've been practicing women's health for nearly 20 years, and I'm spilling the tea on what it means to live at midlife, knowing that the best is yet to come. I'm sharing my Gen X approach to living through this transition. Sassy, a bit sweary, and always honest. Tactical tips and instantly usable information is my aim. I hope to make you laugh and that you learn something new that helps you embrace the change. Together, we bring power to the peri. Onward to the podcast. AG1, the way I start my healthy days. With my AG1, I get a daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, adaptogens, and more. It's daily self-care for my busy life. It helps me fill the nutrition gaps, supports immune health, and supports gut for healthy digestion. It's once a day, easy to drink, and packed with bioavailable ingredients in a convenient formula. I am proud to have had AG1 as a sponsor of this show for many years. It's a nutritional supplement I stand behind and I take every single day. Start with AG1 and notice the difference for yourself. It's a great first step to investing in your health. Try AG1 and get a free bottle of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/Fiona Lovely. That's a $48 value for free if you go to drinkag1.com/Fiona Lovely. Check it out. Hello, gorgeous. I'm Dr. Fiona Lovely. Thanks for listening to the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. And I am here to give the last recording of the year of 2024. And this year has had a lot of highs and some lows. And if you are like me, where you are celebrating the end of a glorious year that also felt like a shitty year in a lot of ways, especially December, there seems to be a number of people that are experiencing some difficulties. So just know that you are not alone. There's a lot of us, and it's all just fine. And soon enough, the calendar will roll over. We'll have a fresh page and a fresh start. But before we do that, let's just take a moment to reflect a little bit on the show, on the state of women's healthcare, and some things for me too that I'm happy to share with you. So, what a year for women in midlife. It's true that this year, our understanding of the hormonal picture, how our brain and our bodies change at menopause and perimenopause, is really stepping to the front of the line. Like, we're really getting good airtime now. And of course, we had the M Factor documentary come out this year. We're just starting to get access to it here in Canada. So I've watched trailers of it, but I haven't seen the whole thing yet. But if you have, please share. Send me a DM, leave a comment on the social media post, just so that I know you guys have seen it. I know lots of women are talking about it, which is great. Anything we can do to get more airtime is a great thing. For me, probably my favorite part about doing this episode of the show is that I get to share with you my favorite books of the year. And I take this seriously because I love my books. I'm a lifelong reader, as I'm guessing you could probably imagine. And I think there's just been some fantastic books this year. I want to give mention to the book I talked about this time last year, which was Dr. Peter Attia's Outlive. Now, this book is still a reference book for me, even though I think it's still on the New York Times bestseller list. If you haven't read it and you're interested in longevity, please read that book. It really is a guide of sorts for us that are interested. I was actually just fortunate enough to be in the room while Dr. Attia was speaking just a couple weeks back, and his presence certainly is one not to be messed with, but also I love his podcast, The Drive, just one of my favorite things. So let's get into the books that I loved this year the most, with, again, a really powerful book called Outlive by Peter Attia. Okay, Dr. Lisa Mosconi released The Menopause Brain this year. Holy man, this one is one of those books we will look at 20 years from now and say, thank God she put out the research. Thank God she shared with us what she was learning about women's brains and the change at women's brains. By the way, I have to say, there is a Christmas arrangement in my house, and it's got evergreens, which I have to remind myself every year. I'm kind of allergic to them. So if you can hear that in my voice, that's what's going on. It's so important for me to record this show for you that I thought I'm just going to push through it. Anyways, back to Lisa Mosconi's work, The Menopause Brain. Love, love, love this book. If you have changes of mood, if you have more irritability, if you have anxiety, depression, sleeplessness, you feel like you can't find words, etc., and you want to know why, please read The Menopause Brain by Dr. Lisa Mosconi. Okay, next up is a book by Stacy Sims, and the book's called Next Level. And Dr. Sims is a exercise physiologist and nutrition scientist. And this book is really all about how women, our bodies change profoundly at midlife, and how we train, how we eat, how we rest, how we recover. All of those things change. And this book outlines how different things are and how we can change them, but also in a way addresses the issue of we're not just little men. And this is not a theory book. This is a book that gives you the nitty gritty, get stuff done. By the way, the links for all these books are in my Amazon storefront, which I'll make sure to leave in the show notes. Okay, a little bit of a left turn from women's health books. I interviewed this author on the show this year, Jessica Waite, and she wrote a book called The Widow's Guide to Dead Bastards, which is mostly memoir, but also very, very hopeful in the end. And if you haven't listened to the episode came out July 30th, and Jessica Waite is the author, but a very engrossing book. Once you pick it up and start reading her story, you won't be able to put it down. And I think a lot of us can relate to the grief that she felt at midlife. Now, in this case, it was because of the loss of her husband, but there's many reasons that women feel that grief at midlife. And I think Jessica gives us permission to look at these things, the grief that we can experience at midlife, and really just gives us permission to feel it all. And in the end, still feel like everything's going to be okay. I love this book. It was so good. Okay. One of the other great books of the year is a book called All in Her Head, The Truth and Lies Early Medicine Taught Us About Women's Bodies and Why It Matters Today by Elizabeth Coman, MD. So this book is written by an oncologist who basically is pulling back the curtain and showing us just how much medicine, modern medicine, Western medicine, uses a very outmoded model for how we look at women's bodies and how there is still very much a bias towards the male body. And again, it's just a fascinating read, especially if you like historical information, which I do. I always want to know why. I want to know why. I want to know how. Those are the ways my brain works. And, you know, we look at the history of it, we can understand it a lot better. And we can certainly understand why it is that Even now, our doctors struggle to take care of us, many of them, because they're still not getting the information necessary to take care of women who make up 51% of the population on the planet. Okay, next book I want to talk about today is the Polyvagal Practices by Deb Dana. Now, the polyvagal theory, you may have heard me mention it in the shows where I'm talking about emotional and nervous system regulation. And this is critical work for us right now because I don't know if I've ever, I shouldn't say in recent memory, I can't remember meeting anybody that wasn't working through some kind of trauma. And the best way, and of course we have no tools, we were given no tools in our schooling system to really know how to work through that. And so books like Polyvagal Practices by Deb Dana give us the actual toolkit for nervous system regulation, because that is the more important piece. We don't have to rehash the trauma. You know, lots of times women will tell me they can't even fathom going to a therapist because they just want to keep whatever the traumatic thing was locked away and not talk about it. And the truth is, it's more important to move through the stress tunnel rather than just kind of pocketing it away, because we know that's the kind of thing that leads to inflammation and disease, etc. So Polyvagal Practices by Deb Dana, invaluable. It's a tiny little book, but it's just chock full of goodies. Okay, back to women's, I should say feminine magic. So this book is called Venus by Lisa Lister. And it is a book that talks about the Venusian frequencies, the magic of Venus for women, and the divine feminine and the feminine frequency. I can't explain it more than that, except if any of those words seemed like they caused that inner ding, please pick up this book and read it. Forever Strong by Dr. Gabrielle Lyon. Wow, this book was also one of those game-changing books where we're really looking at muscle health. And she was really one of the first to talk about muscle as the longevity organ for many, many reasons. If you want to know why it's important to lift heavy things, why and how to do it, and how to nourish yourself for it, please read this book, Forever Strong, A New Science-Based Strategy for Aging Well, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon. Now, I know I record the podcast just audio. You can't see me sitting here inside my home studio, but I've got all these books piled up next to me because I love paper books. And I pick them up and I just let them speak to me and say whatever they're going to say about what needs to be shared with you. So I hope it's resonating. Okay, this book is more of a relationship book, if you will. Again, another little book called The Love Prescription by the doctors Gottman, Gottman. And the subtitle is 7 Days to More Intimacy, Connection, and Joy. And one of my team members actually brought this book to my attention. And I think it's a tiny little book that's going to take you no time at all to read, packed full of useful bits of information that will absolutely help you in connections with the major relationships in your life. It's a really nice new reframe of things. Okay, and the last book I have here to share with you is the revised, and now this book was on the list last year too. It's Estrogen Matters by Drs. Avram Blooming and Carol Tavris. And this book was revised and updated this year. And thank goodness, because there's so many of us that talk about this book and the importance of this book for giving women and their doctors permission to use hormones as a wellness and longevity tool without the concerns of breast cancer, stroke and heart attack, and neurodegeneration, and many other things. So Dr. Blooming breaks down in this book the research on why it is safe for essentially every woman to take hormones. And this is in doctor language. So if your doctor's resistant, suggest they read this book because it is very sciencey. And at the same time, it gives us a great awareness of the importance of keeping hormones topped up. Really, really, really important stuff. So you can find out more of my favorites on my website, which is drlovely.com/Fiona's-favorites. And if that, by the way, I spell favorites like Canadians. There's an OU in there. But forget that. Just go to drlovely.com and there's a banner at the top that actually has Fiona's favorites that you can click on right there. As we move through menopause, it's no secret that our bodies change. As women, we are navigating the ups and downs that come with aging, especially when it comes to hormones. That's why I'm really excited to share something with you that's been a game changer for me. I've been using the bioidentical hormone creams from Hormone Solutions by Karen Martell, and they are fantastic. They are clean, over-the-counter, and contain USP grade hormones, which means they are high quality and effective without any harmful ingredients. The best part, you don't need a prescription to get them. Karen's creams are designed to help with the symptoms of peri and post-menopause, and I have noticed a real difference in how I feel using them. The Estro 2 Rejuvenation Cream in particular has been amazing for my skin. Not only does it help with the hormonal chaos of menopause, I've been using it as a face cream too. Research shows that estrogen on the skin can reduce fine lines, shrink pores, and even helps to build collagen. It's like a mini facelift in a bottle, and it's an affordable way to support your skin as you age. Karen's products will help you reclaim control over your body and help you look great. We deserve to feel good as we age. If you're ready to take back control and feel your best, I highly recommend trying Karen's creams. They come with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's nothing to lose. You can even take 10% off your first purchase with the code LOVELY. Please go to karenmartell.com/shop/ to learn more and make your first order. Of course, as always, I will leave the links in the show notes. Thanks, Karen. Okay, let's talk about my favorite podcasts. So rather than it being about episodes, I'm going to give you the podcast that I like to listen to the most, which has definitely been confirmed by my Spotify Wrapped this year. Still loving the Huberman Lab podcast. I get a ton of information, especially about chronobiology, and which I love to listen to. And I just think that the quality of information there is just very, very good. Although the episodes can be quite long, but I still love listening to them. Hormone Solutions by Karen Martell. Now, of course, Karen has become a friend, and I have to say her show is still the first one I go to look up a particular topic I might be interested in. And I just think Karen does great interviews and she has great guests on the show. So please check out Hormone Solutions by Karen Martell. No surprise if you've listened all the way through the episode that Peter Attia's podcast, The Drive, is going to be on here on my list. Dr. Attia's podcast is very science-based, very data-driven. So if that's not your jam, avoid. But if you like the science, but you like it delivered in a way that is relatable and usable, go to The Diary of a CEO by Stephen Bartlett. Great podcast. Stephen with a V-E-N. Anyways, great episodes. The videos in particular are excellent there. The guests are so good, and it is a very relatable podcast. I think Stephen asks questions that are what I think the people listening to the show are going to want to know. They don't want to be up in the high flying science. They want to be like, okay, what does this mean? And what does this mean? And what does this mean? He breaks it down, and it's just a very entertaining and easy to listen to. He does a lot of social psychology, sociology, even anthropology, neuroscience, hormones, you name it. Great guests on The Diary of a CEO. And then also Hack My Age by Zora Benamu. Now, Zora's been on the show. And if you want to listen to the conversation around anti-aging and longevity as it unfolds, please go check out Zora Benamu's podcast, Hack My Age. Now, I want to wrap today by saying my favorite moments of 2024 were really about the people. It was really about you, my beautiful community. For every time you sent a comment or left a comment or sent a DM or went through the website and sent me an email, I read all of those. And I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for being raw and real with me. I want to thank you for sharing your experience. And of course, we get so many emails. We can't answer all of them, but I try to do my best to get back to as many of you as I can. And I'm just always so touched when you take a moment to let me know how the podcast has affected you, has brought you great information that helps you advocate for yourself, which is ultimately the reason why I do this show, is to deliver the information so that you can show up where you need to show up and ask to be treated better. Whether that's in your relationships or it's with your doctor or it's at the gym or it's at work, this is what this show is about. And thank you for listening to the show. To the amazing women that I met this year and I work with in the menopause and longevity space, thank you for being an inspiration to me, for giving me ideas of great episodes and awesome guests to bring on the show to share with my community. You have changed my life for the better this year. And I just thank you for helping me raise the bar and keep the bar high for women across the board. The rising tide in the harbor rises all boats. And I love that. And I have seen nothing but open-hearted women sharing. And thank you for being in my community. And to my awesome team who helps me make the show, produce the show, release the show, the newsletter, and the social media posts, to my assistant, to everyone on Team Lovely. I'm so grateful for you, to my to Category 3 and the beautiful people there who help me bring the show to some really interesting people and markets. Thank you deeply from the bottom of my heart. To my family and my husband, who supports me no matter what, no matter how many crazy times I'm interviewing guests during the week or off to clinic or whatever. He's always up for feeding the cats, unloading the dishwasher, and going to get the groceries. So to my beloved, thank you. To my community and my people, thank you. I hope you have a wonderful 2025 New Year's Eve and early start to the year. And I can't wait to bring you the guests. I've already got booked guests right through June of next year, and I'm super excited about the people I'm bringing to you. Always new voices, always fresh voices, and hopefully fresh perspectives. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being part of my community. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to deliver this show to you, which I love so much. I've done it almost 10 years now, which just blows my mind. But again, thank you. Please share it with your besties. Until next time, I'm Dr. Fiona Lovely. This is the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. The information and other content provided in this show, or in any linked materials, is not intended and should not be construed as medical advice, nor is the information a substitute for professional medical expertise or treatment. We are doctors, but we aren't your doctor. Seek your doctor's opinion. If you or any other person has a medical concern, you should consult with your healthcare provider or seek other professional medical treatment. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something that you have heard in this podcast or in any linked materials. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. The opinions and views expressed on this page and in this show have no relation to those of any academic, hospital, health practice, or other institution. Thank you.